Welcome back to History in Minutes. We often picture master criminals as shadowy figures in slick suits, rappelling from skylights or tapping away at keyboards in a darkened room, a single bead of sweat trickling down their brow. And sometimes, bless their ambitious hearts, they are. But then there are the heists that make you scratch your head and wonder if reality is just poorly written fiction. These aren't just robberies. They're audacious ballets of deception, brute force, and occasionally staggering levels of patience. Let us dive into 3 such tales where the only thing more unbelievable than the crime itself was how almost perfectly they were executed. The Antwerp Diamond Heist, 2003. Imagine the most secure vault on Earth. Got it. Now multiply that by 10. That was the Antwerp Diamond Center in Belgium, a fortress beneath a fortress. We're talking motion sensors, seismic detectors, heat sensors, magnetic fields, high-security locks, and literally miles of infrared beams. It was supposedly impenetrable. Keyword supposedly. Enter Leonardo Notarbartolo, a man who for years charmingly posed as a diamond merchant, renting an office in the very building he planned to fleece. While everyone else was busy being impressed by his perfectly tailored suits and sincere interest in gemstones, Leonardo and his crew, a ragtag bunch of Italian thieves, were busy plotting. They practiced on a replica vault for years, mapping out every sensor, every beam, every single one of the 10 layers of security. When the big night finally arrived, the execution was as understated as it was audacious. They didn't blast, they didn't rappel, they simply bypassed everything. They sprayed hairspray on motion detectors. Apparently a tried and true method for thwarting high-tech security, covered cameras, and somehow, with old-school locksmithing and a touch of sheer nerve, they disabled an alarm system that would make NASA jealous. They walked out with over $100 million in diamonds and jewels. Untouchable. Brilliant. Almost perfect. But as with many a grand plan, a seemingly insignificant detail would unravel their carefully constructed facade. Except, of course, for the minor detail of a half-eaten sandwich. Yes, a discarded sandwich found by the side of the road containing DNA that led police straight to Leonardo. Because nothing says master criminal like leaving behind a snack. Most of the diamonds remain missing to this day, leaving us to wonder if they were worth the indigestion. And the next heist we will be moving to is, have you heard about the time some guys in Brazil dug a really long tunnel to rob a bank? No, not the cartoon. The real-life one. Well, let's talk about it. This is the story of the Mole Men of Fortaleza, or at least one of their stories because these guys were busy. In 2005, if the Antwerp heist was a perfect symphony, the Banco Central burglary in Fortaleza was a wild jam session. Brazil was a testament to sheer, unadulterated grunt work. You want high-tech? Forget it. These guys went low-tech, like really low-tech, but still managed to pull off a spectacularly high return. Their plan was, for lack of a better word, simple. Brilliantly simple, or perhaps simply brilliant. Rent a house 2 blocks from the central bank. Set up a fake landscaping business as a front, which meant a bunch of guys digging in the oppressive summer heat, and then dig. For 3 months, this dedicated crew excavated a 78-meter tunnel, longer than a Boeing 747, stretching from their rented house directly under 2 city blocks and into the bank's reinforced concrete vault. I know what you're thinking. How much dirt? Well, that's where the pulley system came in, along with an elaborate ventilation system. A feat of engineering in itself considering the length of the tunnel and the fact that they were digging under a street and a sidewalk. But that was just the beginning, because once they reached the vault, they still had to break through 1.1 meters, 3.5 feet of steel-reinforced concrete. But they did it. And on a Friday night, presumably after a hard day of tunneling, they popped out into the vault, filled 40 bags with approximately $70 million in cash, and vanished into the Brazilian night. What truly highlights the audacity of this crime is the time frame before anyone even realized what had happened. The theft wasn't discovered until Monday morning when bank employees noticed an oddly empty vault. 3 days. 3 days of stolen glory before anyone even noticed. Now, to be fair, the police did catch some of the gang, but a good chunk of that money, like a lot of good things in life, simply disappeared, presumably buying them a lot of very comfortable shovels and very expensive landscaping tools. Next up, let's jump into the next heist. For a touch of British charm and geriatric grit, we have the Hatton Garden Heist. Forget youthful exuberance. This was a crime committed by a crew whose average age was in the late 60s, with one member nearly 80. These were not tech-savvy cyberpunks. These were seasoned, old-school villains with bad backs and serious drilling equipment. In 2015, a gang of 50-something to 70-something British criminals set their sights on the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Limited in central London. It was a well-known vault containing the valuables of some very wealthy people. But why Hatton Garden? Well, as one of the gang later explained, we knew it would be a big score. We also knew that nobody would suspect a bunch of old men with tools. And boy, were they right. Their meticulous, if somewhat physically taxing approach took place over a long holiday weekend. Over the 4-day Easter bank holiday, when London's jewelry district was quiet, these diamond weezers, as they were affectionately, if somewhat sarcastically dubbed by the press, meticulously drilled through a 50 centimeters or 20-inch thick concrete vault wall. They used a heavy-duty Hilti DD 350 drill. Less Bond villain and more retirement project gone wild. Through this hole, they managed to haul out millions in jewels, gold and cash from 73 safe deposit boxes. It was the perfect crime, or so they thought. Ironically, their success owed as much to human error on the part of security as it did to their own cunning. The security system was state-of-the-art. The burglars? State-of-the-art old. They triggered the alarms multiple times, but security guards simply turned them off without investigating further. Because who expects a gang of pensioners to be systematically dismantling a vault in the middle of the night? But what goes up must come down. And these seasoned crooks knew that. At the end of each day, they covered up their tracks, literally sweeping the dust and debris out of the vault and replacing the concrete with a fresh batch. However, despite their age and initial good fortune, a blend of arrogance and carelessness ultimately brought them down. What ultimately got them was less about intricate detective work and more about a combination of their own sloppiness, leaving behind tools and other evidence, and, hilariously, bragging. One of them, Brian Reeder, even stopped to take a nap in the middle of the heist. They were eventually caught and served time, proving that while experience might teach you how to pick a lock, it doesn't always teach you to keep your mouth shut. As for the loot, a significant portion of it was never recovered. The gang had scattered to the winds with their ill-gotten gains, spending it on luxury cars, vacations, and even plastic surgery. These 3 heists, though vastly different in execution, from meticulous high-tech bypasses to a 3-month excavation and finally to the surprising efficiency of a septuagenarian drill team, all share a common thread, an almost unbelievable audacity that captivated the world. They remind us that sometimes the line between genius and utter folly is just a discarded sandwich, a very long tunnel, or an alarm system no one bothers to check. Which of these incredible tales do you think was the most audacious? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories of history's most outrageous crimes, make sure to like this video and subscribe.